Maybe. Yeah, there we are. Okay, Facebook's live. And YouTube is going live. YouTube is live. All right. So I think everything be live. I think everything is live. So what are we getting here? Like, what kind of a stream is it sending? Okay, so it's sending 720p and, okay, 131K audio. All right. I mean, ish. Sure. How does it sound on YouTube, Brian Monroe? And thank you for confirming that, because we're doing a whole different, our workflow today is 100% 180 degrees. So, all right. So I got to do this. Now I got to tell people. No bat signal yet. That is correct. I'm on it. Sounds good. Okay, that's great. John F. Braun is our video producer today. It's true. 869. Yeah, and obviously I'd prefer not to have like, we can talk about StreamYard in the show, that's fine. But like as we're leading into the ads, I don't want to have a discussion about like, okay, I'm going to try and like play this now. You know, like that part needs to be smooth. 869. 869. That's it. 869. 869. 869. Review. Okay, let's see. We're live. Maybe I was going to just send it. Okay, good. That signal is queued. All right. Are you sending the tweets out, John?
Uh-huh.
Sweet. Sweet. My computer is like happy. You know, ironically, I'm not using that much more CPU, much less CPU than, hey, there's the bat signal on my watch. Cool. So let's see. I need to leave here 1:15, let's say. All right. Yep, same. Excellent. And that reminds me to take my watch off. One of these days, I'm going to throw my watch down on the on that charging mat, and it's going to hit like exactly the right spot, and it's going to start charging. I'm going to be very happy about that. Okay. All right. We're having fun now. Okay. So now I also need to go to like the MACGEEKGAB Facebook page and share this. Let's actually make sure we're really live on Facebook. We are really live on Facebook. Okay, cool. Hey, Brian8944. Sweet. Okay. There is share now public. Share now public. Public share now. Share now public. That's what I want to do. Man. Oh, I don't think so, Brian Monroe. I mean, I'd certainly be into it if Apple made AirPower, but I don't think so. I think that ship has I don't think that ship was ever built, let alone ready to sell.
It was built. It just went up in flames.
Well, yeah, right. The prototypes literally went up in flames. That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. We're live. It all feels it feels very it feels good. Yeah, well, I don't have to do anything. My problem is I can't see you. Like I gotta I don't want to show the tab bar. How do I not show the tab bar? Hide tab bar. Can I hide the tab bar on Chrome? I just want this one tab. I want to like hide lots of things here. Can I hide the tab bar in Chrome? Anybody know? I know I can search for it, and I will. stuff running. Hide tab bar Chrome. Okay, how to hide the tab bar in Chrome. I'd like to hide the tab bar. Here's a piece of JavaScript you can put in your browser's Omnibox or into a bookmark. This will open a new window with your current page without tabs and close the current page. Well, that sounds terrible.
Terrible.
Well, if I did that now, you would lose me. That's not what we're going to do. This is how I hide all tabs. You press full screen and then toggle full screen. What? Okay. Can I do that? Am I going to regret? I'm definitely going to regret what I'm about to do. Full screen. Okay, view, enter full screen. See, that was bad. And then now how do I get out of full screen mode? Okay, I did it. I did a very, very stupid thing. Okay, maybe it wasn't that stupid. So can I resize this window? Because this is doing what I want. I just want, like, man. Screen. Yeah. Okay. Can I hide the tab bar in Edge? I don't know. I got to figure out a way to do this. Yeah, but Belkin. No, not Belkin. Yeah, Belkin. Is that who made this? I think it's Belkin made this thing. Who did make this? Why can't I remember? So clearly they did a bad job with their product naming. It's Nomad, and it's called the AirPower or something, right? So Nomad made it. Why can't Apple? Oh no, man. Okay, well, I'm just gonna have to deal low windows. I want it broken out. I want just like a little thing, a floater. I want a floater. That's what I want, is a floater. Oh, Warren, you're 100% right. 100% right. That's it. Yeah, the watch is not really Qi, or it's not. Yes, that is it. You are correct. That's correct. Yep. I'll go with that. All right. I'm going to light the candle. Shall we light this candle here? Oh, I had a question about the show. You know that thing that we were going to do? Where was it? So we have some stuff. There were two things that I had questions about. Okay, so this question from R, or a tip or whatever it was, something from R about secure disposal of rotational drives. He says something. Experts have told me to just encrypt an external drive and then dispose. He says that's way wrong because a hacker, this is the part it doesn't make sense to me. It says the hacker could just take the encrypted drive, perform a simple, quick format, and gain access. I don't think that's true.
I think the point he was trying to make is that if you just encrypt the drive before you dispose of it that was not encrypted, then that's not the right way to do it, because I don't think it would typically encrypt the entire contents.
But that's exactly what encrypting a drive does. Like that. That's
I don't know if it does it to old content, I think is the point he's trying to make.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is I think it does. I realize he thinks it does. He thinks it doesn't, but I think when you encrypt a drive, it encrypts everything. There were two ways this happened. There was the old school file vault way, right, where it literally took hours, sometimes even days, and that definitely went through and encrypted the drive. And then there's the new school. Their drive is always encrypted because you have a T2 chip. And when you re-encrypt the drive, it just encrypts the key for it. But If you reformat it, that key is lost, and so all the data just remains encrypted. Either way, the data is encrypted at rest.
I think if
I'm not sure that a hacker can just do a simple quick reformat and gain access to the drive. Like that seems very incorrect to me. I mean, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I don't think so.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah, Warren. Okay, so we got backup here from Warren and Brian Monroe. So feel free to read all of his thing, but if you read that part, we're going to have to debunk it, or you can just skip that part about encrypting a drive first thing out of the box. But I'm not. I mean, it's worth talking through because clearly there's some misinformation out there. Yeah. Okay. All right, and then,
I think with the old, so without the T2 chip, if you take a drive that's never been encrypted and then activate file vault, I don't think that's going to encrypt the entire drive.
It'll encrypt the entire volume. For sure. It took hours. We would watch it encrypt the entire volume.
On the old file vault, yes, I agree with you. But I think
the old file vault is what happens if you don't have a T2 chip. That's what I'm saying. It's one or the other. Paul, and perhaps Paul's point is what this guy was trying to make. If you let me see if I can wrap my head around the right way to say this. If you don't encrypt a drive out of the gate, there are things written to that drive in an unencrypted state, as we know.
Yes.
And then if you go and encrypt it, that's essentially going through and reading the drive and rewriting, like reading the content from the drive, encrypting it, and writing the encrypted version. But those new cells that are written are encrypted. The old cells that you read from, assuming there's enough space that they didn't need to be reused, would still be left unencrypted. But it's not as simple as just reformat and you can read them.
Right.
Like you'd need something to comb through the unassigned cells of an SSD to do it. And I think that's what Paul's saying.
Well, first he's talking about rotational drives, not SSDs.
Okay, but same concept. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this is good. Great.
So I think we get the recommendation. Here's what you should do.
Encrypt out of the
otherwise.
Game. Yeah.
Like I responded to him is I will still for a drive that's never been encrypted. A secure erase is probably a good idea.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. No, good thing. And then the other question was the much simpler one. This thing from Simon. Two things with Simon.
Simon, go.
The first is your reply is great. Please also, not right now, but like afterwards or tomorrow, whatever, take the reply that you made and post it and reply to his thing in the forums because it's there. He gave us a link to the forum. So just do that so that we've got that data there. And then I'm treating this as a question, not a tip. Yeah.
Well, it's a tip in that the material offered will do a better eject.
Okay. But it didn't work for him. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
If you just try to eject the drive, it'll whine about, there being two volumes and stuff. This script, however they're doing what they're doing,
right,
avoids that. So it just spits the drive out.
It's another way of doing like we had somebody do the command option E thing and making that shortcut. So this is just another
and
way.
the toolbar thing is irrelevant. I mean,
got it. Okay. So
I know you saw that and you're like, oh, well, John has one of those. The thing is it offers a shortcut, which, the article explains it pretty much.
Okay, great. Great. Okay, cool. All right. Do we need to talk through anything else?
No.
All right, great. And it's time to, let's see. It's time to start the music. It's time to light the lights. Camera brightness, logic. Okay, balanced stereo. Logic has the right gates. Your levels are good. Facebook's live. We sent the tweet. I'll quit Twitter because I'm smarter than that.
So let's see. If I do this, okay, I can still see you, tiny you down there.
Interesting. Okay, cool. And then start the Farrago for the theme music, which is way too loud. Okay. But we're going to have to do that anyway. So sponsor level is irrelevant. The air conditioner's not on. Okay. Oh, we got to play the song. All right. Great. We'll play a little rock song, and then we'll be back. Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll be right back. All right. Well, I'm back. But if you're watching the video stream, you can't see me because John's still away, and he controls everything in terms of what you see on the video stream. Is that where there's a small area I can see on the right side of John's camera? I'm not sure what that means. All right. Well, we'll hope John is back soon. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's see. Can I position and size your image? Sure. The avatar will be used when your camera is off. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Well, then I could also do a different thing. I could go to like Dave pictures, setting all my things here. No, I hear him, so that's a good sign. Well, maybe when John comes back, I'll. Oh, didn't like that. Oh, it did like that. Okay, great. We must bow before John's power. That's correct. But yeah, we're using StreamYard this week, Brian Monroe, or for everyone we're using. So you say, is there's something on the right side of John's camera you can see? I'm not sure what you mean. John's camera looks good. Yeah, all looks good. But I'm sure you mean something by it. Okay. What have we done here? Okay, we'll do that. Okay. I assume you can hear me, right, John?
Uh-huh.
Great. And we're in sync. You know what? Just for grins, let's go to timeanddate.com, shall we? Just let's make sure. Let's see. I mean, it seemed like a very natural conversation. It hasn't been a problem. Let me know when you're there.
Yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Are we in sync?
Yep.
Say yours to me just to see. Sync both directions.
Oh. 12, 13, 14.
It's delicious. It's already better.
Delicious.
Groove is in the heart.
Hmm?
Well, delicious delight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that song's in there.
Okay.
Is that why there is a small area that I can see on the right side of, huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he means by that. I asked him for clarification. I'm not sure what he means. I think everything.
There's our logo.
Oh, that's true. There is our logo, which is in a different spot than usual. But we could do that thing where we.
I don't know how to put it elsewhere, though.
Well, we could build an overlay.
Right.
Put it where we want.
And I was suggesting that. So.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll do this.
Thanks, Brian Monroe. Cool. Is it? Let me ask this: Is it like terrible and awful and something we should deal with before we do the show, or is it going to just work fine for this week? That's my question. I will look, but
I don't see any.
I don't see any issue. I agree. But if somebody else sees something, then it's good to have that conversation. I guess the question, is it a showstopper? Because otherwise, I'm kind of feeling like it's time to rock. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. Everything's good there. What don't I have running? Oh, I don't have all my Mimo Live stuff down there. Right. That's really interesting. Okay. Fascinating. Fun, too. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Great. Specs look good. The specs look good. Analytics are happy. Everybody's happy. All righty. It is time. So I need to mark down 2 times. We are at 39, which sucks. and 35. 34. All right. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think it's me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Mac Observers Mac Geek Gab, episode 869 for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Greetings, folks, and welcome to the Mac Observers Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in your questions, your tips, and your cool stuff found. The goal being that, wow, easy for me to say, each and every one of us tries to avoid having seasonal allergies, or at least symptoms from them, and learns at least 5 new things every time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include headspace.com/MGG, textexpander.com/podcast, and Clear Me, where code MGG gets you your first 2 months for free, which is great with all the travel that we might actually start being able to do again soon. We'll talk more in depth about each of those in a little while. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in control, in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun.
That is correct. So the audio stream is happening the way it always does, and the audio recording is happening the way that it always had. But for those of you that choose to go to live.macgeekgab.com and watch our video while we record it, or that go to YouTube and Facebook, or just to macgeekgab.com because you can see it there too, and watch the video, John is now in control of the video stream, which makes things a little more, well, it makes life a lot easier for me and a little more interesting for all of us. So it's good.
Yeah, so this is something called StreamYard, which a lot of people use, including our good friend Guy Searle, who actually gave me some tips on how to run this thing. But I mean, check this out, man. So see, I can do like this and give us like wide view, or like this, or I can do this and it's just Dave, or this. Oh, wait, how do I make it so it's just me? I don't know.
This is fascinating for our audio listeners, of which the audience is about 99.2%. So, yeah.
All right, let's go back to, all right, side by side. There we go. I don't know how to get it. Yeah, it's weird. If I click on the one person button, I don't know how to get it to be me. It goes to you. I don't know why.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure we can figure that out. Cool.
Yeah, we will. Okay. Enough fiddling about.
No, it's great. We've been using Mimo Live for since we started doing the video thing, which basically has been a year. I forget when we actually started it, but it was after we all started pandemicing, and we wanted to give you folks that were stuck at home something to watch. And we'd, sort of been toying with the idea of adding video for a while. So yeah, so here we are. But it makes it fun. Keeps us all involved, and like I said, gives me less to do, which is good. Also, Mimo Live, it's released software, folks, but at least for what I think would be the simple use case that we had here, it was not stable, as you might have heard on a few episodes there. So it's nice to move to something that hopefully is more stable. But we have some quick tips, John. Are we ready to go to that?
Yeah, and basically, yeah, check this out if you want to. Maybe we could do an affiliate link or something. I don't know. But yeah, this basically shoots video to multiple destinations simultaneously, which is something that people want to do.
That's what we do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we stream live to Facebook and YouTube, which works out great. Well, I've been thinking, though, that we're probably doing it wrong, and we should be streaming to Twitch. So we may add that going forward.
Oh,
yeah,
Twitch. Okay.
Yeah. I think there's audience out there that we are missing out on, or that is missing out on us. So yeah. In terms of quick tips, I realized something this week. We had a conversation, John, about starting from scratch with your M1 Macs as opposed to Migration Assistant, and the reason for that, not that there's going to be a ton of problems, but there are things that Intel things that don't migrate over quite right, and you need to go in and find all of those. And I mentioned that I had done a lot of work to do that after I had done Migration Assistant. And so for the casual user, I would definitely recommend just starting from scratch so you're not even having to think about it. Well, even for me, and I thought I went through and did everything the other night, I had Chrome running on my M1 Air, and it had been doing its updates and keeping itself up to date and all of that. And I ran Activity Monitor, and I noticed that Chrome was running in Intel mode. It's like, I know it's updated a million times since then. Well, Chrome and Microsoft Edge have two different tracks of the app. There is the Intel app, and then there's the one they call the Apple Silicon app, which is really the universal app, so it would run on both. If you are going to run an M1 Mac, you need to go and manually download the Apple Silicon versions of Chrome and or Edge, depending on which browsers you want to use, so that you have them. They aren't just pushing the universal out to the normal chain. My guess is that they made some decision that they don't need to fatten up the app, since most people, and by fatten up, I mean add the code for both Apple Silicon and Intel Silicon to the binary, because most people are still running the Intel binary. So, at some point they might merge that and stop having this forked thing, but they have a forked thing. And so if you're running an Apple Silicon Mac, make sure that you are running the Apple Silicon versions of especially those apps. The best way I have to check for it, you can run things that'll go and find all the Intel things on your drive, and I'm sure those are fine. And I know those are fine, in fact. But if you run Activity Monitor on an Apple Silicon, on an M1 Mac, there is a architecture column that you can put into place, and I sort by that, and then I can just see what's running Intel actively on my computer, and that's how I found it the other night. So craziness. You got a tip from Alex, or any thoughts on that one?
Nope.
All right. Cool.
Alex. All right. So Alex writes in and says, if you have a lot of Finder windows open, but they are scattered all over the screen, you can, of course, consolidate them into a single tabbed window, but you can also cascade those windows into a stack. To cascade them, visit the Finder window menu and click. Holding the Alt key will alternate between Bring All to Front and Arrange in Front. Choosing Arrange in Front will turn that mess into a cascade of Finder windows. So if you want to clean up your act, and he sent a screenshot, and it has the title in each window has a title, so you can tell what is within it.
Right. So it cascades them so that one title is below the next. So you can see the close, the close, open, maximize, or close, minimize, maximize buttons, and the title for each window, and then it just cascades them. Yeah, that's not bad.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Pretty good. Jose has a quick tip for us. As soon as I find it, I will tell you. Oh, yeah, this was interesting. He was the one that was asking in the last episode about what happens when you delete something from a shared photos album. And the reason he was asking that is sort of a quick tip. He says, I do not have iCloud photo library turned on. So the hack is I create a shared photo album, which I only share with myself, and I delete those photos from my iPhone. For him, he uses an album called Words, which are screenshots of words that he wants to collect from his dictionary app. You could use it for anything you want. But for him, he takes the screenshot, adds it from his regular photo album to this shared photo album that only his devices are subscribed to, and then he deletes it from his iPhone's photo library. So it only lives in this shared photo library, which is why he was concerned about what happens when you delete something from a shared photo library. And I think that's still a valid question. And if you know, feedback at MACGEEKGAB.com. However, it's a nice little hack to get around not having iCloud photo library turned on all your devices. So I kind of like that. You could use PhotoStream as well, but he likes to be selective about what's being shared amongst his devices, so hence the shared photo library. But PhotoStream would do the same kind of thing. So, yeah, interesting.
Nice. Did you say feedback at MACGEEKGAB.com, Dave?
I said feedback at MACGEEKGAB.com. Okay. I did.
Just
making
sure.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate the clarification. It's hard to understand sometimes. John, I realized something this week. We had, and I'm still not sure why, we had an issue where for the first few hours, the main stream, the main feed of our show was great. Like the audio file of the show, no problem. Great, no problem. And lots of people downloaded it. And then sometime throughout the day on Monday, that stopped being the case. And what was in the feed, or at least what was downloaded, and I'm not sure, again, how this happened. Things happen. It's tech. Was this 1 second audio file. Bad, right? So we fixed that once we found out about it. Thank you for letting us know. And we fixed it. And all the podcatcher apps immediately were up to date. Everything was good, except Apple's. Podcasts on my phone, on my Mac, my phone running 14.5, my Mac running 11.3, were no bueno. It like they would not update. And then about an hour, maybe an hour and a half later, everything was fine. It's like, okay, what's Apple doing in caching? And then it hit me. Apple's podcast apps don't appear to be pulling from our RSS feed anymore. What happens is Apple's podcast apps are pulling from Apple's servers. And Apple's servers only parse our RSS feed once every, hour or 2 or 3 or whatever it decides to do. There's a way we can go in and sort of tell it to do it, but even that, there's some lag. And I actually did that on Monday. And I think this has to do with the new podcast subscriptions thing, because we could be releasing 2 versions of the same episode. We could release a paid version and a not paid version. And it takes Apple's servers to reconcile that. So if the podcast app were pulling directly from our RSS feed, it would have no way of knowing that there was this other episode on the back end coming through the Apple Podcast subscription. So it all has to go that way. And I'm not sure I like that, but it is a fact. So if you're seeing weird things with Apple's podcast app, it's because they're doing new things with Apple's podcast app. And I know that's not really a quick tip, but I kind of wanted to share it anyway. So interesting, huh?
Yes.
Hey, we both got some shipments, John, on Friday, didn't we?
Oh, you did too. Okay.
I did. Yeah. I did.
Yeah, I got a notification from UPS, and they're like, "Hey, something's coming," and I check it out, and it's like it's from AI, which of course is Apple Inc. So I got my AirTags and got to play around with one. I don't know if you played around with yours.
Of course I did. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, John, just so I know, lots of you got your AirTags on Friday. That's not really early. John and I ordered late in the day on whenever they went on sale, and so we weren't due to get them until later this week. But the way things worked out, we both got them early. Yeah, I had happily deleted the Tile app from my phone. I'm still leaving my Tiles in my various devices. I'll do that until their batteries die, because if other people are participating in the Tile network, I'm happy to have the second line of protection. But the AirTags, I like them. Do you? I mean, you've messed with them, right?
I can understand why other tag vendors may not be pleased with this, because, well, the thing is, they're obviously doing something that only they can do. So you get them, they have a little tab, and you pull the tab in order to activate the battery. And it makes a happy little sound when that happens. But then the setup process, I don't think this is something that other tag vendors could do, in that you just hold the tag up to the phone and it just said, "Oh, AirTag, you want to connect to it?"
Yeah.
And you go through the process, you give it a name, you select an icon for it. Mine, I put in my car, or at least the one that I activated so far, and did a little car icon. Isn't that cute? And then you get a new category in, and then it asks, you want to associate this with your Apple ID. It's like, yes, please. And then when you go into Find My, there's a new category. Items or devices? Is it? What is
it's
it?
Devices.
Devices.
Oh, no. It's items. Yeah. You're right. It's
okay.
Items, because
so you get a new category.
There's already devices. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get a new category. And so my observation is, the phone is aware of the tag at, I would say, a little less than 100 feet, but it'll complain that the signal's not strong enough. And then my experience testing out, so it also uses this thing called ultra wideband, which I think is the technology they use to give you location information, and that kicks in at about 30 feet with my experiment.
Well, that's their precise location. What they call it. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So once you're within 30 feet of your tag, then it'll start telling you, oh, well, it's to the left, to the right, and all that.
It's like looking for a geocache in your own house. It's really kind of fun.
Yeah, I should try the stalker tag scenario. So apparently, if there's a tag within range of your phone that's not registered to your ID, it'll tell you about that.
Right.
After a while, I think it prioritizes if it, especially if it's in your home. It thinks that that's probably a bad thing and someone's trying to stalk you. So,
I'll have to test that. I bought a 4-pack and I put one in my backpack and I gave one to my wife to put in her purse, and but I'm assuming that because it knows we're in the same iCloud family or something, it's not going to freak out about us essentially tracking each other with our respective tags. But if I gave one of my tags to you or left one of my tags near you without you knowing it, that's when it should alert you to that. That's right. Yeah. And as far as third-party vendors, there is that Find My framework that third-party vendors can tap into. I think they would need new hardware. Like, I don't think Tile could do it with the existing tiles that I have, but it is open in some way. So
I noticed that there's within Find My, there's a place where you can say add a device, and then it's like, okay, put it in discovery mode. So I don't think anything that I have right now will, other than the AirTags, will work with it. But
I'm hoping that a new version or a new case for AirPods will be a Find My device, because that's a perfect spot for it. I ordered some cases for the AirTags because they don't have clips on them, as you're all probably aware, but I haven't gotten those yet. But as soon as I do, I will put one with my AirPods, because that's the thing that I leave around most often. So if the AirPods case could become an AirTag, I'd like to see that. So I'm hoping for something like that. But I guess somebody, there will be crafty people. There's no reason somebody couldn't build a case for the case that has the AirTag in it as a third party thing. So yeah, fun. I'm happy with this. I have always liked the idea of the Tile. I don't like the way it chews up battery, and that seems to be a fairly universal thing based on the feedback we've been getting. So yeah. Oh yeah, the Apple TV remote. Brian Monroe in the chat room here at live.macgeekgab.com suggests that if the Apple TV remote would become an AirTag case, that would be great. Yes, right. Losing it in the couch, or just being able to play the sound on it. I did notice something very interesting about the sound, John. I had the AirTag I put it in my backpack, and I'm like, okay, will I hear the sound? And I'm standing right next to my backpack, and I play the sound, and it's like, wow, that doesn't seem all that loud. And my wife from across the house goes, yeah, that's kind of an annoying sound. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so as I moved around my house, the sound really did not get a whole lot quieter as I moved further away from it. It's like they've picked a frequency that resonates in a way that just sort of pierces through things without being blaringly loud, which I found of course Apple did, right? But I found that part interesting, like, because I moved to a room like a wall away. It was like, oh, I could still hear it. Okay, great. Like, that's all you actually need. And then you've got the little, geocacher where you're like navigating to it as well, which is good. Yes. Yes, as Renee Ritchie says, AirTag all the things. Absolutely. Let's just do it. Yeah. We'll track ourselves. I'm gonna AirTag my kids. I mean, they're older now, but if they were younger, we could sew one right in, right? That's okay. No problem. Maybe braid it into their hair. It'll be like a fashion statement. Kids wearing AirTags. All right.
Yeah. The one weird thing I noticed is that at one point when I was trying to find one of my tags, it complained. It said more light required.
More light?
Yeah, when apparently when you're in find mode, it turns on the camera. I guess it can visually locate it as well.
Wow. Huh.
No, I got a screenshot here. I'll show it to you.
I
But
believe it.
at one point it said more light required, and I'm like, huh?
We'll have to dig into that. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right. And hey, Dave, if you want to protect your AirTag.
Well, we have a lot of things to talk about in terms of that, don't we? We've got, in fact, our first cool stuff found today of a huge list will be an AirTag case, a very special one that listener Mark sent in, and we've got some other cool stuff found too, including another webcam that I was able to check out. So we will do that shortly. The first thing I want to do, John, is to talk about our sponsors, if that works for you.
Please.
All right. Hey, wouldn't it be great if there were some pocket-sized guide that helped you sleep, focus, act, and even be better? Well, the good news is there is. And if you have 10 minutes, Headspace can change your life, because Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is an app I've been using for a long time, on and off. It's a practice, right? And I'm not perfect with it. I'm trying to get there, but I've used it on and off for years, and thankfully, with this renewed attention, I'm back onto it again. And it's fantastic because it doesn't matter. Whatever the situation, Headspace really can help me feel better. If I'm overwhelmed, they've got like this little 3-minute SOS meditation for me. If I need help falling asleep, they've got these wind down sessions that are fantastic. They really do help you kind of tune out. I know it seems weird to say, hey, we'll use our phones to tune out the outside world. Like, on the surface, I get it, but it really actually works. And you deserve to feel happier too. And Headspace is meditation made simple. So go to headspace.com/MGG. That's headspace.com/MGG. That'll get you a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. That's the best deal they're offering right now. It's headspace.com/MGG. Head there today, and our thanks to Headspace for sponsoring this episode. Next up is Clear. I was fortunate enough to be able to travel recently we had to go pick up our son over on the other side of the country, and I am eager to do more. And when I travel, I love it when I am able to use Clear, because Clear is this secure identity platform that really truly creates a frictionless journey at the airport and beyond. It works at stadiums and stuff too. I've only ever tried it at airports, and I've used it, and it's amazing because with Clear, all I need is me, right? There's like a quick one-time enrollment that I use with my, passport or driver's license, which is fine. And then after that, I just use my face or my eyes for this safer touchless entry at the airport to get into, the line where you're, scanning your stuff and getting through security. They make me seem so important. It really is. They do such a fantastic job. They have the Clear ambassadors that are there. You do the little scan at the Clear kiosk, and then they just walk you right up and you're on your way through. Clear is the absolute best way to help you get back to what you love, and they have locations in over 35 airports across the country, making it safer, easier, and faster to reunite with your loved ones or take that much-needed vacation. It works great with TSA PreCheck too, and right now, for a limited time, you can get your first 2 months of Clear for free just because you're a MacGeekGab listener. So go to clearme.com/MacGeekGab and use code MacGeekGab. That's CLEARME.com/MacGeekGab, code MacGeekGab for your first 2 months of Clear for free. ClearMe.com/MacGeekGab, code MacGeekGab, and our thanks to Clear for sponsoring this episode. Next up is TextExpander. This is an app that without it, I know immediately that for whatever reason, I haven't launched it yet, because I use it so much in my email and even in my text messages, filling out web forms. The idea behind TextExpander is there are these things that we type all the time, and we want to make sure we get them right, and we don't want to have to retype them and proofread them and all of that. They can be short things like email addresses and phone numbers. I never want to type my email address wrong on a form. That's terrible, because then I'm not going to get the email that I expected. Same with my phone number. Same with my address. But also the same with like big responses, like multi-paragraph responses to emails, right? If there's a question that I'm being asked regularly, maybe, tell us about your podcast. Okay, great. Like, boom, here it is. I don't have to proofread it. I don't have to think. It's super fast, and off it goes. And then I even have some of the follow-up questions, like, what kind of package do you recommend? And although actually that's usually pretty customized, but there's actually some other things where it makes perfect sense to have these responses that you're using over and over again. And that's what TextExpander is for. TextExpander is available on Mac, Windows, Chrome, iPhone, and iPad, and it syncs amongst all of your devices. So you have your snippet library everywhere. And you can even sync your snippet library with your team. So everybody has the same library. Show listeners here to MACGEEKGAB get 20% off your first year. You got to visit textexpander.com/podcast to learn more. Again, textexpander.com/podcast. And our thanks to TextExpander for sponsoring this episode. All right, John, you want to take us to Mark with his AirPads case, AirTags case?
Yes.
All
Look
right.
at that, man. It just dumped us right back into side by side.
We're all good.
Amazing.
The video is excellent. You want to tell us about AirTags cases?
Yes. So, the tag itself, the back I think is plastic and the front is nice shiny metal. With most cases, Dave, you're probably going to scratch it up, and everybody hates that, right? It's like when you get a new watch or something.
Sure.
And the first scratch you get on it is like frustrating, but then you deal with it. But if you don't want to deal with it, we got a link here. You can pre-order this thing from Elevation Lab, and it's called TagVault, and it's $12.95. And basically, I would say it's a ruggedized case for your AirTag.
It's awesome.
They say first waterproof case. Actually, I thought the device is waterproof, isn't it? I thought they advertised the AirTag as being waterproof, but maybe not. So this will make it more waterproof. Let's see. Stainless steel. Okay, good.
It's water resistant.
Mm.
They say the AirTag is splash, water, and dust resistant, and it's tested, controlled lab, IP67 rating. So that's a maximum depth of 1 meter up to 30 minutes. So that I consider that more than just resistant, but Apple's being conservative with their language. So a lot of people would call an IP67 device waterproof, just for the sake of argument. But yeah. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty cool. I like it.
What do you got?
What's that, John? Oh,
what do you got?
I have this. So this is its second cool stuff found entry in a month. First, it came from a listener, and then I got a chance to test one. It's the Anker PowerConf C300 HD webcam. I love testing webcams that are not from Logitech because I think it's good. We saw Logitech's inventory dwindle when everybody went crazy buying webcams about a year ago. And so it's great to see so many other companies out with this. Well, I think Anker has not just put out a webcam that is good. It is good. They've gone an extra step. So this is a 1080p 60 frame per second webcam. It's got a super wide aspect ratio, I guess would be the right term to use, but it's controllable. And what's cool about it is you can go like zoomed in, or you can go super wide, but you can also set the camera itself. There's software you download for Mac or Windows. It plugs in with either USB-C or USB-A. The software, you can set the angle, or you can set it to be in this mode where it follows you, and you can have it follow a single face or multiple faces, and it will zoom out and in, and sort of it's a pan and zoom effect, but it's all happening from within the camera itself. So it works with everything. If I were using it here to do the show today, I'm not, but if I were, I moved around here, my face would sort of stay centered. For a Zoom call, it's great. And with multiple people, if you're doing like family Zooms and things like that, it'll constantly make sure that everybody is in the frame. The microphone on it is actually pretty good. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but the microphone's pretty good. I like the microphones in my M1 Air a little better.
But Apple's done some crazy things with those microphones to make them better. So it like, but it's a nitpick is really what it is. The microphones in this are clear and probably would work better for multiple people at a distance. I have not tested that yet, but it's a very cool camera, and it's $130 and available on Amazon. So yeah, cool stuff found, deserving of another mention for sure. They did a great job with this.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's good. Let's see. We have Donna to talk about here. Donna, so this is a little off the beaten path, but I like it, and it's worth going and watching this little video. She says, I know this isn't an electronic digital techie thing, but it's cool stuff found nonetheless. She said it's these Kizik hands-free shoes. She says, I'm not sure where my 80-year-old mother discovered these, but she ordered them, and she can easily put them on. They look like normal shoes, but you can slip into them. They're just the way the heel and everything is built. You have to go watch the video to fully understand it, but it looks really cool, which is why we put it in cool stuff found. So thanks, Donna. Yeah. It's good to have easy, like if we can make our lives a little easier, that's not a bad thing. Hey, SuperDuper released something the other night, John, that is new and welcome and unique. And that is they released a beta that will clone your M1 Max boot drive into another bootable drive. This is something that has thus far been impossible with any cloning apps. Now, the trick is it's in beta, probably because Dave just finally got it to the point where he felt it stable enough to have other people using it. However, there's another asterisk here, and that asterisk is it requires the 11.4 beta of macOS to work. And Dave put up a fantastic post explaining exactly why this is, but there's a utility called ASR that stands for, I'm pulling it up here, Apple Software Restore. This is an Apple utility that Apple bakes in with the OS. Up through 11.3, ASR is not compatible with the M1 chip. And because of the way the secure volumes work, with the secure system volume works with Big Sur, you have to use ASR if you're cloning the system volume in Big Sur. And so there was no way to clone that on an M1 Mac if ASR didn't run on the M1. Well, in 11.4 Beta 1, ASR works on the M1 Mac, and so now you can do this. So this is coming. I have no doubt we'll see this from Carbon Copy Cloner and perhaps even others now that ASR is in there. But Dave Nadian, we talk about how these two cloning apps, SuperDuper and Carbon Copy Cloner, leapfrog each other over the years. Well, this is Dave's most recent hop. And I say Dave Nadian is the engineer over there that creates SuperDuper. So, but there is another caveat that's worth sharing. I put a link to the TMO article about this that Andrew Orr wrote up, but he says you can't boot an Intel Mac from an M1 clone or vice versa. However, you can boot one M1 Mac from a clone of a different M1 Mac as long as you authorize it with a user on the Mac you're booting. So that security chip in the M1 Macs knows about who you are, and you need to authorize it. So, but regardless of processor, of course, you can still restore using Apple's first boot restore process, or obviously Migration Assistant from anything. So, so this is exciting though. It's good to see that Apple's worked it out. So yeah, it's good. I don't know. What else do we got here, John? Something from Larry? Yeah?
Sure.
You want to take Larry's? You want me to take Larry's? Happy to do it.
It's not coming up. So.
All right, I got it. Larry says, listening to the most recent show, talking about various clipboard managers, he says, and you talked about apps that had it baked in. Speaking of apps being baked in, Parallels Toolbox, Parallels Toolbox is one of the greatest collections of utilities, and the clipboard history is just one of them. It's a subscription model, which he says, I know your listener was trying to avoid, but for $19.99, you get an amazing set of tools that that you will definitely use daily. Sleep timer, screen recorder, screen capture, audio recorder, disk ejector, drive optimizer, application uninstaller. The list goes on. So yeah, thank you for that, Larry. We will put it on there. He called it Parallels Desktop. I thought he meant Parallels Toolbox, but maybe I'm missing something. Parallels Toolbox. Yes, that's the correct name for it. Yeah, thank you. All right, cool. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes for sure. Thanks, Larry. Good stuff. Mike. Oh, Mike made something very cool, John. You know how I like to talk about my 3-ping troubleshooting method, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you get 3 windows open. If you're having network problems, open up 3 terminal windows, and on them you ping 3 different things. You ping your router to make sure that you're not seeing a problem within your local network. If you can, you ping your cable modem, which if you have a cable modem, you can ping it. And then you ping some device out on the internet so that you know, okay, is the problem between me and my router? Or if that's fine, is the problem between my router and the cable modem? Or if that's fine, is the problem between my cable modem and the internet? Tells you how to troubleshoot things. Well, Mike created a Homebridge plugin for to use with HomeKit to use this 3-ping strategy to alert you to network bottlenecks and issues. I have not installed this yet, but I am eager to. He leveraged the idea of a carbon dioxide sensor to use as the service, and the way he built it, each target has 3 CO2 sensors. And then it's each one is a ping time, an average ping time, a standard deviation, and a packet loss. And so you can sort of sense from any one of those, which is pretty cool. And he says when values drift outside of your user specified bounds, the sensor will be set to detect CO2, which displays a HomeKit alert. So very cool. Thank you for making that, Mike. That's awesome. So there's a link to that, our forum post, his forum post about that, which is very cool. I love cool stuff created. It's one of my favorite things, John. What else do we have here? Oh, one more cool stuff found, at least from my list here. Simon tells us about we were talking about various different services for creating email aliases, and so that you can like give one to each store that you buy from or whatever, and then you're not stuck with, them selling your email address off and you being able to do nothing about it. But Simon, who hosts the Essential Apple podcast, said, I would recommend you take a look at simplelogin.io, which is an excellent free email aliasing / forwarding service. I also use both sudomail and 33mail, but for ease of use and functionality, I would recommend Simple Login. So we will put a link to Simple Login here in the show notes. Thanks for that, Simon. Fun stuff. All right. John, speaking of internet, mine is different. I finally got fiber this week.
Oh, yes. I saw a speed test. Looks pretty snappy.
Yeah. So Consolidated offers 3 levels of fiber here. It doesn't matter what the cost was. I was going to get the fully symmetrical gigabit anyway. However, so fully symmetrical gigabit, $70 a month. One notch down from that for $60 a month is 250 megabits. So 1,000 megabits or 250 megabits for $10 less a month. It was an easy choice. And then you could get 50 megabits symmetrical, which is still a faster upstream than the fastest upstream I could get from Comcast, was only $35 a month. But obviously I went for the gigabit, which it tests out. I get, full Ethernet speeds out to out the internet port. The really nice part, when we first talked about this, John, I had chatted with the Consolidated folks, and they said I had to use their router in order to log in. They said their authentication, whatever authentication they were using, it was custom, and you had to use their thing, but they were working on a way to get around that. It's like, okay, you know what? I can double NAT the thing. It's fine. So when the guy came, there were 2 visits. The first was to string the fiber from the pole to the house. And then a couple days later, they came inside the office, because that's where I had them put it. But he came inside the house and put 2 devices in. So there's the ONT, which is the optical network terminal. That's the thing that converts the fiber signal into an Ethernet signal, for lack of a better. I don't think that's a bad description. I think that's exactly what it does. And then he put this router in, and So, and then he said, do you want me to hook it up to your network? And I said, no, you will be doing none of that. And he's like, great. I don't want to have to mess with that. So it was, when he left, I had two completely separate Wi-Fi networks in my house. I had my main one from Comcast and then this one from Consolidated. And the first thing I did was Ethernet in and do speed tests. I did that while he was here because, we all needed to make sure it was working, which of course it was. 935 megabits in both directions. So, yep, that's what I get over my Ethernet when I'm testing locally. So, sounds good. And so I think the fiber might actually be faster than gigabit, but I have no current way of seeing. Although it has a 10 gig port on it, so I could test that. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that gives me ideas, which is fun. But then I logged into the router, and it was just this very standard Zyxel router. And I looked, and it was just connecting with PPPoE. And so I thought, well, let's try it. And so I configured PPPoE on my Synology router, and I unplugged the Zyxel router. I plugged directly in with the Synology, and I PPPoE'd, and instantly the connection was up, and it's been solid for almost a week. So their router is unplugged. I'm sure I am running what is considered an unsupported configuration. I'm sure when they hear this segment, they're going to be scratching their heads about whether it was a good idea for me to mention this or not. But we're MACGEEKGAB, so it's what we do. But I'm very excited. It's great. Yeah. So it's almost a non-event. I mean, I'm doing a lot more speed tests than I used to because I like to see the super fast connection. But yeah, it just works. No problem. So far, knock on wood, So
yeah, I may have to go down that path too, because whatever deal I had on my cable expired. So I have with Cablevision 200 down and 35 up, and now I'm being charged $89 a month for that, which is kind of expensive and more expensive than several of the fiber packages.
Yeah,
that are faster.
Right.
Yeah, I think the one GoNetspeed is the company. They offer service oddly only in Connecticut and Pennsylvania, parts of Pennsylvania.
It's weird to me that you live in a fairly densely populated area. You are most definitely in a suburb of Manhattan, and yet you have these you don't have the nationwide providers there. You don't have Comcast. You don't even have a Spectrum or anything. You've got Opt Online, which is this relatively small carrier, and the same is true for your fiber. I mean, it's just weird to me that those are the options. Having grown up down there and knowing how influenced, I grew up watching literally WNBC, our news, our local news on TV was, the national news from New York. And so it was weird for me when I moved to Texas, and it was oh, right. I'm seeing local Austin news now. Fascinating. That blew my mind at the time. I mean, it just, shows how sheltered I was, but which is okay. That's how youth is. But it's just weird to me that that area that is so influenced by New York is no, you get these off-brand carriers.
I mean, Optimum, in theory, you can get gigabit down service from them if you're willing to pay the price.
Yeah, you gotta go with the fiber, man. It's been rock solid.
I'm thinking I got to research this, but I want to get what we'll call a load balancer. I don't know if I want to totally ditch Optimum or maybe just get a lower tier connection and then build a redundant connection. So I think you see what I'm trying. I want to bond the Ethernet from Optimum and the Ethernet from the fiber guys into one box that then goes into my router.
So I was thinking along these lines. I wasn't quite as obsessed with it as it sounds like you are, but I have the capability, right? The Synology router. And if you're going to do this, do not buy a cheap device to do it, because the cheap ones won't pass gigabit. These devices will essentially become your router, right? So you have to be really cautious. But I would recommend, if you're going to do it, I'd get the Synology. The RT2600AC does, will do this, and it's not all that expensive. It's $179 or maybe even less now. It was massively over-engineered when they created it 4 years ago or something. It really blows me away. Anyway, so I did the same thing. because I have, it's like I had to do nothing extra. I just plugged in and I did it. And then immediately I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to, because I can configure it either in load balancer or in failover mode. And I configured it in failover mode. And then immediately I was like, okay, but I don't actually want this. I want to know how reliable or unreliable my new connection from Consolidated is. I don't just want some magic thing. I'm not saving lives here. I'm not running an operating room. I'm not running, servers that must be load balanced and fault tolerant and all of that. I'm just Dave at home with his office and an internet connection. It's like, it's not that big of a deal. So I have my cable. I am going for a couple of months. I ratcheted my Comcast service down. I had gigabit service from them, which was gigabit down and 40 up or 35 up or whatever they say. And then, so I ratcheted it down to the cheapest one that they'll sell me, which is like $15 a month for like 200 down and 5 up or something terrible. So I have that if the fiber just, fails on me, but it's unplugged. I don't want to have some smooth fault tolerant thing. I want to know that I can rely on this Comcast on this consolidated connection. So I recommend the same thing. I would say keep your safety net, but truly treat it as a safety net and plug it in if your fiber dies. Otherwise, within a couple of months, you just stop paying Optimum. Well, at least for that. I realize you're probably paying them for TV, but that's what I would do.
And
that's
phone.
That's what I'm doing.
So I'm doing all through them right now. But yeah. Plus I just like to, I can't be the only person that wants to do this in a consumer market.
Well, that's why the Synology router has it.
Yeah. So actually, maybe I could.
Just you can unplug cables. It's really simple. Like that's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, I'm plugging in. That's it. Because like I said, I want to know. I want to have the experience of like, okay, how reliable / unreliable is this? So.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. That's my thought process on it. But it's been smooth as silk so far. So I'm stoked. And it's just, I mean, it's a better technology for faster upstream because the cable networks were built to be, essentially unidirectional. We're going to stream TV to you, and we just need a small return channel so you can like tell us what TV you want or buying a pay-per-view and things like that. So, yeah. All right, we got some questions to answer, John, and we're already 45 minutes into this sucker.
Oh my.
Shall we? Cool. Kevin asks, he says, back when iTunes was a bloated mess, I used to use it to manage my iOS apps on my iPhone and iPad. I have a habit of downloading apps when they are free and then not really using them ever. Kevin, same. He says, then I forget what they even do. Also, same. Now, he says, I would like to be able to use my MacBook Air with an M1 chip to trim down the number of apps I've downloaded to my iOS devices. Do you know of something I don't or have any ideas on how to solve this issue? Yeah, we got to trim down that iPhone bloat, right? The app fat. Honestly, the way I do it, there's 2 ways to do it in my book. Number one, to do exactly what you're asking is iMazing. You plug that in, connect it up, and you can do it Wi-Fi or connected Ethernet once you get it all configured. And it makes it easy. You can see the list of apps. You can see how much space they're taking up, and you can just tell it to delete them, and it deletes them. And it's great. Like, it truly is way easier than doing it on device, in my opinion. That said, for me, the easiest way might be to do it in reverse. Start your phone from scratch every now and again and only install the apps that you want. Because if you're like me, when you're going through with iMazing and trying to delete things, you will think, oh, no, I might need that. I don't want to delete that. And I wind up deleting probably only a third of the stuff that I would actually want to delete. Whereas when I do it, when I wipe it clean and only install the things that I need, guess what? I only wind up with the things that I need. So that's 2 ways of approaching it. I don't know. That's what works for me. What works for you, John?
I usually don't go through my
you don't even bother.
what I'm trying to find here, but what I have seen happens. So how do you activate this? Okay, general iPhone, iPad storage, offload unused apps. So I knew this because one time I came into one of my categories on my phone, and I saw that the app had like a little cloud and arrow next to it, and I'm like, huh? Apparently, what had happened is that it hadn't seen me use it in a while, so it decides to stuff it in the cloud, and then if you want it again. So I think so if you enable that setting, the phone will kind of do this for you, right?
Yeah, it will in terms of space, but in terms of just like what it will do is it will offload the app, but it like keeps all your settings and everything so that you can, re-download the app and use it. And if space is the only concern, then sure. Where this gets dangerous, though, is like I got to a gig at one point and I hadn't used the Allen and Heath Mixer app on my gigging iPad. And evidently this setting was on. And I get to the gig and it's like, oh, that app's not on your device. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not on like internet connected Wi-Fi here. So thanks, I guess. I kind of planned on having that here. So beware of that. Like the app won't be there when you need it. Some apps won't. You have no real way of saying, except these, don't leave these alone. But it still leaves the icons all over the place. Of course, now with the app library, you don't have to worry about that as much. But yeah, I mean, space-wise, that will work, but it doesn't really get rid of what Kevin was going for. But yeah, I mean, it's a start. It's a start. Yeah. So, all right. Listener John has a question. He says, my home Wi-Fi network has become exponentially more complex over the past 3 years. Yeah, same. He says, I have many Internet of Things devices, all of which are HomeKit compatible, he says. And of course, a family full of iDevices and Apple TVs and laptops, etc. I have a Ubiquiti Amplify Alien Mesh system, which seems to handle daily tasks very well. Yeah, I would imagine it would. Recently, I was fiddling with the Amplify app and noticed a device on the network I didn't recognize. Indeed, the Amplify app registered the device as no name available. And in digging in a bit deeper, I noticed that the device was connected to my guest network, which is also password protected. I was able to see an IP address, which was out of range of all the other devices, presumably because it was on your guest network, and a MAC address, but no vendor name was specified. I searched the MAC address through a number of search utilities, and everyone returned a no results outcome. I promptly turned off the guest network and changed the password. I turned the guest back on, and the device disappeared. But this got me to thinking, our home networks are growing. I need a good network utility to tell me what's going on. So I downloaded the Fing app and subscribed to their premium plan. It does a good job of monitoring my network and surveying device outages, etc., but it doesn't seem to do enough for me. So I'm reaching out to you and perhaps the MACGEEKGAB family to see if anyone has any experience with a favorite network monitoring utility. It says, ideally, I'd like to receive notifications when a device connects to my network, have multiple identifiers for each device, not just IP and MAC address, so being able to, say, name them. Troubleshoot, for instance, figure out why one device might keep showing no response. I want to protect my network, and I want to utilize this utility on my Mac, my iPhone, and an iPad. It says, I realize a bunch of utilities do some of this already, including the Amplify app that came with my router, but I'd like a one-stop shop utility if that's possible. So I think there's maybe a two-stop shop. Your router really is the device that can see everything on your network, and it's so getting a router that has these capabilities in it to see things and monitor traffic if that's important to you and those sorts of things, like that's a great place to start. On top of that, the Fing app and really with a Fing box might be the way to go. That's what I'm doing here. I've got the Synology router, which is fairly full featured, including all of these monitoring things. And then, of course, below that, I'm not using Synology's Wi-Fi. I'm using Eero's Wi-Fi. So I have some notifications from Eero, even still in bridge mode. And then I've got a Fing box that really sort of monitors things. And the nice part about a Fing box is I can tell it, hey, these 3 devices, I want you to alert me if and when each of these comes offline or online. It'll tell you the first time it sees a device. But, you can also go in and tell it, hey, keep an eye on these. I want to know if one of these goes offline. And that could be maybe, if your Apple TV is your home hub, that would be a good thing to know about. I have my switches in there now. So if one of my remote switches goes offline, I get an alert. That'll tell me if there's, like, again, it's that, kind of like the 3-ping approach. It's like, okay, if the Apple TV goes offline, that's great. But is the switch also offline? Because that then tells me about a different problem. So Thingbox and the router, I think, are the way to go. The nice part about the Thingbox is it is always on. So it's always doing this monitoring. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't know if you have any different advice, or if anybody in the chat room or anybody out there, feedback at MacGeekGab.com. Let us know. What do you think, John?
I think that I just had, so I'm with you. I'd recommend the router as the first place to look. So in my case, I have the Eero running as my primary router. And something funny happened a couple of days ago, Dave, which falls within the sphere of what we were just talking about. So
Okay.
all of a sudden I get a notification from Eero, and it's like, hey, a new device from Rawlink Technology Corp has joined your network. And I'm like, huh?
Uh-oh.
I'm like, I don't think I have anything from Rawlink Technology Corp on my network. I'm like, okay, so what did I just do? So either I just added a device to the network knowingly, which I didn't think I had. At first, I thought maybe it was like an iOS update or a tvOS update, and maybe it scrambled the, or something changed the private address setting, and the Mac just, happened to fall into that range of this company.
Sure.
No, here's some vendors should. Here's what happened. So I looked up this company. You know what they make, Dave? They make Wi-Fi chipsets.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
And then I was like, oh, now I know what it was. So I have a SanDisk memory stick that has a USB-A port, but you know what it also has, Dave? It has a Wi-Fi radio, and it becomes part of your network. So, and when I set it up, but I haven't turned it on in ages, but when I turned it on, it was long enough that the I don't think the Eero actually ever had seen it. I hadn't turned it on in a while, but that's what it was. And the thing that helped is that the window that Eero showed, and this is how I knew it was that device. So it had an IP address 1.99, and I'm like, okay, showed the MAC address, and then it was like last seen, and it showed the last time it saw it, and I was like, oh wait, that's about the time that I turned on this thingamajig. So I turned it on again, and all of a sudden it updated the last seen time to like now, and I'm like, oh okay, that was it.
That's it, right? Right. Yeah, nice find.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of other things. Like I had another thing that was like, oh, a device from Texas Instruments is on your network. It's like, I didn't buy a Texas Instruments something, but hey, they make chips. So I guess the concern here is that the MAC address of the device may not be the MAC address, may not be mapped to the manufacturer, which is kind of annoying.
No, that's a good reminder here, because you're right. Like, people buy Wi-Fi chipsets and they may not take the batch that they bought and register them as something new. And if they aren't, then it's just, well, okay, the manufacturer is the manufacturer, like when Apple buys, even if Apple was buying Broadcom chipsets, they would register that batch such that, if you looked it up in a Mac table or something publicly, it was like, oh no, this is from an Apple device. But not everybody does that. Not everybody buys enough at once to make it worthwhile doing that. So yeah. Hey, speaking of tracking, iOS 14.5 is out, and that includes the much discussed app tracking opt-in feature. Right? Facebook was all up in arms about this. A few other companies are up in arms. I actually kind of like it. If an app wants to track me, I want it to be able to ask me. Well, it turns out, at least on, so anecdote is not the plural of data, but for all the phones in our house, this was disabled at first. So if you go into settings, privacy, tracking, allow apps to request to track on your phone running 14.5 or later. That switch, if it's off, apps can't track you. So first of all, apps can't track you without your permission with iOS 14.5 and later. If this switch is off, apps can't even ask to track you. If you turn the switch on, apps now can ask to track you. And in this same location, you will see the list of apps that have asked you and that you've given permission to. So I went and turned this on because I want to see an app ask to track me. Now, Facebook and Instagram will not ask. They seem to have decided that they don't even want to ask iPhone users if they want to be tracked, because I think Facebook might know the answer that they're going to get from most people. So they don't even want to shine a light on this. They're just sending notes out to their advertisers that are like, hey, if you're doing things, you can't target iOS 14.5 users because they can't be tracked. And, they're sort of fighting the battle that way, which is, you know what? It's fine. Let them do their thing. But yeah, so check that out. And if you want to be asked, if you want to see what those things look like, turn it on. And it's not going to let apps track you without your knowledge. It's still going to show up the dialogue, but that's where that thing is. So yeah. Thank you, Jose, for asking us about this. And yeah, it's an interesting new thing. I like what Apple's doing with it for sure. So I'm glad to see it. We've gotten to, well, we're humans. When we know that data exists, we want to use it in every way that we can. And I don't mean that about, say, me in particular, or you, John in particular, or you, who's listening in particular. But in general, we humans, we slide down slippery slopes, and that's exactly what this one has become. So I like that Apple has done something to make the slope a lot less slippery. They've added friction to the slope. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that before we move on to Ben here, John?
No, I actually had this enabled, and the things that asked me, I actually said yes.
Interesting. No, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you opted in. That's okay. Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you're going to show me an ad, I'd rather have it be something relevant to me. The thing I don't like is ads that are totally not relevant to me, which is why we have things like TiVo, because...
Right.
I mean, there are certain products where there's zero chance that I'm going to buy it. Like, it's not for someone of my gender, for example.
Sure.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
I don't need to see this.
Right.
All right.
Right. No, yeah, it's there are other ways of targeting people. This show is a perfect example of that, right? We do not allow our sponsors to track you. A lot of shows do. We have thus far not chosen to head down that path. If we ever do, we will have a long discussion here on the show about it, but I really don't see it happening, to be perfectly honest. But that doesn't stop people from being able to target you, because look, the 3 sponsors we had in this episode, right? Headspace, it's an iOS app for meditation. So chances are many people, certainly more than a small segment of people listening to this show, have iOS devices. We know that. So great, here's this thing. And they keep renewing, so it keeps working for them. That's the other way they quote unquote track you. If you choose to buy an app and choose to use our URL or coupon code or whatever, that you are essentially telling them, I learned about this from MACGEEKGAB. And so they keep coming back. That's great. Clear, same kind of thing. We talk about travel on this show all the time. It's a service I use, right? And so makes sense to target you. Same with TextExpander, right? So like, they are targeting you without being creepy about it at all. They're using, demographics and other things to decide that, yes, this general group of people, it's really a highly selective group of people, I like to say. You've got great taste, I will tell you. So it works. So there are other ways to track and target, I should say, not track. There are other ways to track there are other ways to target without tracking. So, yeah, it's good. I'm curious, if you don't mind saying, John, an example of one of the apps that you let track you?
Redbox.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense.
Because they recommend, they're like, oh, you've rented these, so maybe you want to check these out.
Totally.
So some of it they do, within their app and looking at my purchase history, or
of course,
they may look elsewhere.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Now, along those lines, I saw this post on my Facebook feed and I had to get back to this person. So he's like, yeah, you know what? All that junk mail that you get. Well, here's what you do. You take the reply envelope and you take the material and put it in the prepaid reply envelope and send it back to them. And I'm like, okay, well, first, that's just kind of a rotten thing to do because you're making someone's life
yeah
more difficult. Or like the one that I've seen is put the reply envelope on a brick and then they'll charge them wherever it takes to mail a brick back. Well, actually, they won't.
Oh, is that right? Okay, they do charge them to mail the reply envelope.
Well, because it's viewed as kind of harassing the mailer.
Got it.
The person that sent it to you, so they're not going to send a brick back to them and charge them postage for it. But just to mention, if you do want to tell people what you're into and not, then there is because the thing is, Dave, people don't want to send you mail that you will never use.
Fair.
Right? It's just, it's throwing money away. DMA Choice is a website where DMA is the Direct Marketing Association. You can go there and tell them what kind of stuff you want and don't want. That's the right way to do it. Just thought I'd share that.
All right. I'm gonna check that out. I'll put it on the list. Thanks, man. That's great. Good. Hey, Ben asked a question that required a little bit of research here, and I'll explain. He says, I recall that Dave switched his home phone service quite a while ago to Google Voice by using the OBI OB200 adapter. I am looking at doing the same. He says, I currently use Uma, but their spam calls are out of control. So it seems like this would be a great way to do it. And yes, so you're right. It's still to this day, that's what we did. When we moved in here, we had a real landline. We then migrated that phone number to Comcast. And then when we got sick and tired of paying Comcast landline fees, because it's just a VoIP line, like what's the difference? We migrated it to this OBI OB200 thing. And I'll put a link in the show notes about how to do this. But essentially, at the time, what this OB200 device is it's a VoIP adapter, voice over IP adapter for your local network. It has an Ethernet port and a phone port. Actually, it's got two phone ports, but that's okay. You plug the Ethernet port into your network. You plug the phone port into your either a telephone or a telephone jack, and now your entire house is live. Make sure you disconnect from whatever you might have gotten from the street before so that things aren't weird. But just like you would do with your, when you get a cable modem phone line or whatever. And then it just works. Now the trick is, and it connects to a Google Voice number. And so as long as you've got a Google Voice number, you can do this. Now, getting our Comcast-based number ported to Google Voice was a little bit of a trick because at least when we did it, and I think it's still true now, you can't port from Comcast to Google Voice. Google Voice will only port in mostly from cell carriers. So the way to do it was I got a SIM from T-Mobile, and I ported Comcast to T-Mobile. I think I had to pay a grand sum total of about $7 in fees to T-Mobile for the period of time that we had this number active with them. But I ported it from Comcast to T-Mobile, and then as soon as it was live in T-Mobile, which didn't take very long, I ported it to Google Voice, which took a day or two. And then once it was in Google Voice, the T-Mobile account automatically shut down because there was no service left on it. And that was the end of that. And so now I pay nothing for Google Voice. I paid once for the OB200, which currently are available for about $50, I think, maybe a little more, but less than 100. And then good to go. The reason it required a little research is because I log into my OB account once every 3 months just to make sure that everything is like still linked up and, the numbers all still work and all that stuff. We don't use our landline a lot, and I call it our landline. It's not a landline anymore. It hasn't been in a long time, but we don't use it very often. So if it went, a week without working, we might not know. So I check in every 3 months. It's fine. And when I checked in the fall, I saw a thing that says their OB Extra service, which is the service thing that they actually charge for, which I don't pay for, was being discontinued. And I thought, if they are shutting down the revenue stream portion of this, are they shutting down the service overall. And I called customer service, and the customer service rep said, well, we don't have any plans to shut it down, but I think we probably are. I didn't like that. So I checked in with our PR rep there, and she researched for us and found that no, they are not. They have no plans to shut this down. In fact, they're still in production on the OB200s and other OB units. There are multiple line units that you can get and all that stuff. So everything's good to go. I still feel comfortable recommending this as a path. I mean, really, it doesn't take you very long to make your money back after buying the unit. So I'm looking to see what the pricing is today. It has changed. It jumps around. I think it's like $60 if I'm not. Oh no, see, today it's 125. I swear to you, last week when I checked, it was less than $100. But even at 125, I mean, we were paying like $20 a month to Comcast for the privilege of having them host our VoIP line. And so it was like that. It was easy math to get rid of it. But yep, we'll put a link to all this in the show notes, and hopefully you can find it when it's a little less expensive. The price really varies on these things, but yeah. So there you go. They say it's from Obahai. Obahai was the company that used to make it, and that's why it's called the OB200. But now it's Polycom that owns, like you mentioned in the last episode, Polycom owns or acquired Plantronics, and so it's all sort of in that same family. Yeah.
Wow, they're growing by leaps and bounds.
Growing by acquisitions, absolutely. Yep. So yeah, but it works great. It's good. All right, what do we have here? We have time for like one more. You want to do? I think Simon would be good. John, want to take us to Simon?
Yes.
Sweet.
Okay. So, all right. So I had to do a little development here. All right.
Want me to read it?
No, I think we're. Yeah, it's kind of broken up here.
Okay, I'll read it. You answer it. How about that? He said, after hearing the MGG show the other week about Command Option E to eject disks or eject a single volume without ejecting everything on that disk, I went to test as I have an external dock that mounts 2 disks for ad hoc backups. They have multiple volumes, so this means the above keyboard combo still needs several clicks. Then I found a touch bar script. Here come the seasonal allergies. macOS eject all disks with a keyboard shortcut on the touch bar. But the initial code pack was missing. Anyone out there using this tool or has a similar setup? I know Dave and John have mentioned Better Touch Tool, but I have not ever needed it before, as I have never found the need to amend any of the touch bar stuff. So, John, do you have the answer for us?
I do have the answer. So, yes, in fact, if you go to the article that he refers to, they have a thing saying click here to get the to download the. It's actually an Apple script. Yeah, so this isn't really something unique to. Basically, what this article does is it tells you how to build a service in Automator. And I won't read you the steps. You can go to the steps here, but I had to kind of wing it at one point. So part of the article says how it works. And what you have to do is they have a step saying replace the code with this Apple script.
Got it.
And the thing is, further down on that page is the source code. So you literally copy and paste that source code into Automator. And they have a few other steps, like one, it gives it a cute little gear icon and all that.
Sure.
And then within Automator, you just save it as a service. And then from that point forward, when you go to the when you're in the Finder menu, you'll see services, and what happens is that it then appears in the services menu.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
And you see, so I showed him a screenshot. So in the services menu, there's going to be a general category, and that's where when you read this article, that's where it puts the script. And basically you just select that. You can create a shortcut to it. They explain how to do this as well.
Sure.
But the key is that what they're doing is different enough from the Finder eject in that it does not prompt you for eject. The Finder normally, if it sees, a disk with 2 partitions, it's like, oh, well, there's actually 2 partitions or 2 volumes here. You want to eject both of them? If you run this scripted, you are not asked that question.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. Yeah. And there's a he asked this in our forums, so we'll put a link to the forum post, and John's gonna fill in the answer there too. So we'll have it all for you. Yeah. Well, I think that's what we got for today. So we're gonna take our toys and go home because we got new toys this week. So we got to play. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for all your feedback and comments and tips and all that stuff. We got a bunch of feedback from our discussion on last episode about subscriptions, and we ran out of time to include that today, but I want to share all of that we got with all of you to sort of get your feedback about it. But it's been very enlightening, I will say that. So if you have more thoughts about how we might implement Apple subscriptions in the world that we live in here, we are all ears. So feedback at MacGeekGab.com, please. Or if you're a premium subscriber through our premium program, premium at MacGeekGab.com, you're welcome to use that, of course. In fact, you are encouraged to use that if you're a premium subscriber. So cool. John, you have any last things to tell them before it's time for us to get out of here? No. Okay. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks to all our sponsors, as we mentioned 3 times in the show. Headspace.com/MGG, clearme.com, using code MACGEEKGAB, and then TextExpander.com/podcast, of course. 2 great utilities and 2 great services, and I'll let you figure out how that works with 3 things, because sometimes things are more than they seem. Aha. All right. Our thanks to CashFly for providing all the bandwidth. Get the show from us to you, John.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for doing the show with me, John. It's fun. And do you have any last things to say now that we've gotten through all of that?
I have one last thing to say, Dave, and that is don't get caught.
Made on.
And we're out. So we got to get you you need to make, it's easy enough. Just make a, overlay that you can put in that has just the MacGeekGab logo on it for like the end of the show and things like that.
All right. So I hit end broadcast now.
Well, if you do that, then everyone that's on the stream will not be able to, then that truly ends the stream, right? I chopped the audio file, and then we'll trim the video file that you've got, but and we'll have to trim everything there. But no, not yet, because we need to end the broadcast. But we need to give it a minute or two, because otherwise it actually chops it off before we ended the show. So where are we here? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So we're explaining that.
And you need the video file.
I do. Yeah, okay. If it's easier to just give me your login for StreamYard, I can slurp it down from there.
No, I'll download it and just put it in put it in that folder.
Okay. Yeah, if you can do that today, just so because I'd like to get that stuff to Sadie ahead of time. So okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I might give you put it there for today. That's totally fine. Eventually I might give you a different folder to send to. So cool. Thanks, everybody. All right. Well, we are going to end the stream, so I will end the Facebook stream. Thanks, everybody on Facebook. We'll see you next week. Later. And thanks, everybody on the YouTube and that stream. Later. And